Hi everyone. I'm here today on Monday, April 20th, and this is the first installment of our Pause for Creation. The question that is driving this little mini series that we're doing is how can this great pause be for good? How can we be better caretakers of the earth? As you know, this Wednesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day. And this is not just any Earth Day, it's actually the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So that's a good jumping off point, I feel like. But the reason I'm talking to you today about the Earth as a pastor, or perhaps your pastor, is not because we think loving the Earth is just a cool thing to do. It's because we believe that the Earth is a gift from God. The Earth and all of its resources actually contain the foundation for life. And we believe God is in the business of life. Awareness of the earth and compassion for creation is at the core of our faith, and it's often forgotten as we follow Jesus Christ. So why talk about it now? Besides the fact that we're celebrating the secular holiday of Earth Day this week, there are a couple of other reasons. The first is that this is the season of Easter, the 50 days in which we celebrate that God always finds a way for life to overcome death. What better time to focus on the natural world blossoming into spring around us? The second reason is this. For the first time in modern history, we have been stilled. The pause button has been hit at a time when our globalization and productivity and economic forecasts had reached an all-time high. And we have been stilled. The airplanes are grounded, the cars are parked, industry is barely crawling along, oil prices are dropping, and for once, something in this world has overshadowed our great thirst for economic growth. That thing that has overshadowed it is, of course, the coronavirus. It has brought a lot of pain and a lot of hurting right now. And I want to acknowledge and validate that. But it has also brought something else. Clarity. Did you know that in this month of April, people in the city of Punjab, India, began seeing the snow-covered Himalayan mountain range that sits right next to their city for the first time in decades. The air had been so polluted around the city that you couldn't even see the mountains that were right there. In cities across California, similar things are happening. Indicators that measure smog in the air have dropped to single digits for weeks on end as the commuter traffic, which in California is crazy, has basically evaporated. In a time when we're all worried about getting coronavirus, which is a respiratory infection, pollution-induced asthma rates are dropping astronomically. Doesn't that make you stop and think? In our own neighborhood, here in Cobleskill, from my house, I have seen the streets come alive with actual human beings leaving their actual homes. Families walking down the sidewalk, laughing, riding bikes, jogging, making sidewalk art, playing with balls. A pause button on the world has been hit for reasons that we know are painful. But in the midst of it all, there is a cry of thank you filtering out of a battered and depleted earth. That I think it's our job as Christians to listen to. I believe firmly that God did not cause this pandemic. The God I believe in is not like that. But I do believe that God can be providing an opportunity to us right now to learn a lesson. And the lesson is, when it comes to caring for the earth, God's beloved creation, we have strayed off course in a major, major way. So for the next few weeks, I think it's worth our time to pause for creation, to acknowledge how we've strayed off path, and to begin in small ways to mitigate the harm that we're causing. So I want to read to you from the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah is a bold and prophetic book in the Old Testament, and it's full of a lot of scary things happening to Jeremiah's people, who were the Israelites. And this was Jeremiah's way of speaking to his people about what was going on and the hope that God ultimately offers us. So this is Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 4 through 13. Listen to the Lord's word, people of Judah, all you families of the Israelite household. This is what the Lord says. What wrong did your ancestors find in me that made them wander so far? They pursued what was worthless and became worthless. They didn't ask, "Where's the Lord who brought us from the land of Egypt, who led us through the wilderness in a land of deserts and ravines, in a land of drought and darkness, in a land of no return where no one survives? I brought you into a land of plenty, to enjoy its gifts and goodness, but you ruined my land. You disgraced my heritage." The priests didn't ask, "Where's the Lord?" Those responsible for the instruction didn't know me. The leaders rebelled against me. The prophets spoke in the name of Baal, going after what has no value. That is why I will take you to court and charge your descendants, declares the Lord. Look to the west as far as the shores of Cyprus, and to the east as far as the land of Kedar. Ask anyone there, has anything this odd ever taken place? Has a nation switched gods, though they aren't really gods at all? Yet my people have exchanged their glory for what has no value. Be stunned at such a thing, you heavens. Shudder and quake, declares the Lord. The people have committed 2 crimes. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and they have dug wells, broken wells that can't hold water. This is a really rich passage, but for the sake of focusing in, I'm going to pick one of the metaphors from the passage. It is that metaphor that Jeremiah speaks of at the end, forsaking a spring of living water that is God's, and instead digging wells that can't hold water. As we think about our earth and its resources, it's not hard to envision what God could mean by springs of living water, clean air, clean water, good food enough for everyone alive, jobs for people that don't exploit the earth's natural resources and leave the very people doing the work sick and dying, oceans where life can flourish, farmers who can make a decent living, creeks that can run clear. In verse 7, Jeremiah says of God, "I brought you into a land of plenty to enjoy its gifts and goodness, but you ruined my land. You disgraced my heritage." We have turned from the living water, the natural resources God gave us, and we have dug our own wells, thinking that we could dig deeper for better, more lucrative water. Water that would give us easy lifestyles, convenient and cheap goods. We thought our ways were better than God's when we needed more and more and more, insulating ourselves from the true cost of our greed by turning our heads away from the floating islands of trash in the ocean, or the chopped off mountains in Appalachia where they mined the coal, or the smog-infused India where they make all of our cheap things, or the dairy farmers right down the road who can't even get a decent price for their milk because it can't compete with the low prices in the grocery store. We tried digging for our own water, but the wells we've built hold only our profit. All of the true life-sustaining water has leaked out. So I have a confession to make. I have gotten rather complacent. There was a time not so long ago when I made a lot of effort to live with a lighter ecological footprint. I grew a lot of my own food. I composted regularly, even though it made my kitchen stink. I canned. I bought local food. I biked to work. I was even a vegan for a few short years. But things in my life changed, like they always do. I had a kid. I moved. And slowly the things that I had been doing became less convenient. My life turned into a struggle to just get by, never mind thriving or being a responsible citizen of the earth. I just needed to get through each day. And then the coronavirus hit. And at first it felt like one more thing to survive. I operated out of fear and uncertainty. I was taking each day as it came. But I feel like now I'm finally ready. Or maybe it's because this feels like it's settling into a long-term thing. I feel like I'm ready to finally make something good out of this, to use this as a reset. Maybe it's the Easter spirit that's still stirring, or maybe it's the way that the earth itself is finding its voice right now. I want to do better. And I think if enough of us wanted to do better, then we actually could make a difference. So each week, I'm going to give myself, and you, if you want to go along, a goal. One small way we can stop digging our own well and start instead seeking the spring of God's living water. This week, let's keep it simple. Let's pick up litter. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but I can't tell you how many times I've been out on a walk with my daughter, and she will say, "Look, that person didn't throw away their trash." And I'll say, "Oh, maybe later when we come back, we can pick it up." And I'm thinking in my head, when we have gloves and a bag, and that time never happens. It never comes. And so this week, I am committing myself to going outside with a plastic sack in my pocket and gloves. And when I see something that does not belong, trash that someone else has left or it blew out of a trash can, I'm going to pick it up. Because it's a small thing, but it's a concrete step that I can take. And I can do it with my family, even during this time of social distancing. And it can make a small difference. It can clean up my block that I live on. Maybe you have a block like that too, where you can start picking up trash. Let's start small, and each week add to it. So thank you for listening to this Monday message, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, and let's stay in touch.